Honda Tadakatsu was a renowned Japanese samurai, general, and daimyo, a feudal lord who loyally served all three of Japan's great unifiers. He rose to prominence during the turbulent Sengoku period, a time marked by relentless civil wars and profound social upheaval. As the power of the Ashikaga shogunate, the militaristic government, waned, regional lords or daimyos began to assert greater political authority, commanding armies far mightier than those of the declining shogunate. The title of shogun, though ceremonially granted by the emperor, signified the true military ruler of Japan. Yet, as the influence of the shoguns diminished, the nation descended into an era of near constant warfare, where battles erupted with unceasing frequency. It was amid this chaos that the legend of Honda Tadakatsu was born, celebrated for his unmatched swordsmanship and unwavering valor. He is said to have fought in 57 battles over the course of his life, never once receiving a single wound, earning the moniker, the warrior who surpassed death itself. He is also remembered for his striking and distinctive armor, most notably his imposing helmet adorned with great antlers. This bold design would have made him an obvious target on the battlefield, and it seemed only to reflect his fearless spirit. Far from seeking concealment, Tadakatsu was renowned for his audacious charges into the heart of enemy lines, recklessly hurling himself into the fray in a relentless effort to break the enemy formations and to usually turn the tide of battle. He also became one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Tokugawa, describing 4 highly effective samurai generals who fought on behalf of Tokugawa Ieyasu, who would rise to become the shogun, effectively ending the Sengoku period, which finally ended the constant wars in Japan. This is the tale of the warrior who surpassed death itself. This is the story of Honda Tadakatsu. Tadakatsu was born in the year 1548 in the province of Mikawa, being the eldest son of Honda Tadakatsu. The Honda clan traces its lineage to the distinguished Fujiwara no Kenemichi, a revered statesman and court noble of Japan's Heian period, which spanned from the years 794 to 1185. From a young age, Tadakatsu was deeply shaped by the social order and political tensions of the era. As a member of a prominent family, he was likely groomed for leadership early in life, undergoing rigorous training in the arts of war and governance. His education would have included the mastery of swordsmanship, archery, horsemanship, and other martial disciplines, skills essential for a warrior of noble blood. Tragically, Tadakatsu lost both his father and grandfather during his early adolescence. Following their deaths, he entered into the service of Tokugawa Ieyasu, then a young daimyo himself. Over time, Tadakatsu would rise to become one of Ieyasu's most trusted retainers and one of his foremost generals. Legend holds that Tadakatsu saw his first battle at the tender age of 13 in the year 1560. Initially, his uncle Honda Tadazane slew an enemy samurai and asked Tadakatsu to cut off the corpse's head. Tadakatsu refused, declaring his desire to earn his own merit through personal valor. Without hesitation, he charged into the fray, striking down an enemy himself and taking his own trophy. Even in his youth, Tadakatsu's courage was legendary, his blade baptized in the blood of battle, at the tender age of 14. In the year 1566, at the age of 19, Honda Tadakatsu was elevated to the esteemed rank of Hatamoto, a title reserved for high-ranking samurai. With this promotion, he was entrusted with command over a cavalry unit of over 50 horsemen, a reflection of his martial promise and the trust placed in him by his lord. By the year 1570, the formidable warlord Oda Nobunaga had risen to become one of the most powerful daimyo in all of Japan. He installed a puppet shogun from the Ashikaga clan, seizing control of the nation's central government, while earning the respect and recognition of Emperor Ogimachi himself. By this time, the emperor was more of a ceremonial role, with the real power being in the hands of the shogun, or in this case, the warlord who controlled him. Yet, despite Nobunaga's dominance, many proud and independent clans still refused to yield to his rule, and unrest continued to simmer across the land. Amid this shifting landscape, Tokugawa Ieyasu, Tadakatsu's lord, formed an alliance with Nobunaga. But such a union brought further conflict. Among the fiercest of Nobunaga's opponents were the Azai and Asakura clans. When Nobunaga launched sieges against Odani and Yokoyama castles, strongholds of these defiant clans, war became inevitable. On the morning of July the 30th in the year 1570, the Battle of Anegawa began. Oda's forces clashed with the Azai on the right flank, while Tokugawa's troops faced against the Asakura on the left. Soon, the battle descended into a brutal melee within the shallow waters of the Ane River. Nobunaga's warriors fought upstream against the Azai, while Tokugawa's forces, including Tadakatsu, battled downstream against the Asakura. Tadakatsu, commanding the rearguard, was given a pivotal role. As the Tokugawa army began to falter under the relentless advance of the Asakura, Tadakatsu suddenly spurred his horse forward, charging alone into the heart of the enemy force, being 10,000 strong. This audacious act shocked his comrades and prompted Tokugawa Ieyasu himself to lead a counterattack, rallying his men to support Tadakatsu and halt the Asakura's momentum. Against all the odds, the Tokugawa forces turned the tide and defeated the Asakura that day. Tadakatsu survived, despite having placed himself in the gravest of dangers. One chronicled moment of the battle describes Tadakatsu engaging in single combat with a towering Asakura warrior described as a giant, named Magara Naotaka. Their fierce duel, however, was cut short when the Asakura army began its retreat. With the Asakura forces routed, Tokugawa Ieyasu immediately sent Tadakatsu and Sakai Yasumasa to reinforce Oda Nobunaga, who was struggling against the Azai on the right flank. As Tadakatsu's men struck Azai Nagamasa's flank, the enemy lines collapsed under the pincer assault. In the chaos of that final push, Tadakatsu once again fought recklessly, disregarding his own life, and yet astonishingly, not a single blade, arrow or bullet touched him. This miraculous survival in the midst of such ferocious combat would become the hallmark of his legend, a warrior whose valor was matched only by the favor of fate, and whose body would bear no wound from battle, only the unshakable aura of invincibility. In the year 1572, the renowned warlord Takeda Shingen, known across the land as the Tiger of Kai for his fearsome military prowess, launched his western campaign in order to encircle and isolate Oda Nobunaga's forces. Amid this rising threat, Honda Tadakatsu led a Tokugawa scouting party to observe the enemy's movements. However, they soon encountered the vanguard of the advancing Takeda army. The Tokugawa scouts quickly attempted a retreat, but the Takeda troops gave a swift and relentless pursuit, and a clash would erupt near the Mikano River. Tadakatsu was tasked with commanding the rearguard of the main Tokugawa force, which had taken up a position at the base of a hill, terrain ill-suited for defense. The Takeda vanguard struck hard and fast, catching Tadakatsu's men in disarray. Their sudden assault overwhelmed the first two of the three tired Tokugawa formations. To prevent any escape, the Takeda also unleashed volleys of gunfire towards Tadakatsu's position. Faced with the threat of complete annihilation, Tadakatsu made a bold and desperate decision. He launched a furious charge to break through the encircling enemy. Though considered a suicidal maneuver, his men expected to become dead soldiers. Tadakatsu's force defied the odds. With extraordinary valor, they shattered the enemy lines and withdrew to Hamamatsu Castle. Thanks to Tadakatsu's leadership, a contingent of Tokugawa Ieyasu's main force was able to complete its retreat safely. This engagement came to be known as the Battle of Ichinosaka. Tadakatsu's presence on the battlefield left a lasting impression. The enemy took note of his striking antlered helmet and his fearsome spear, nicknamed the Dragonfly Cutter, said to be able to cleave a dragonfly in mid-flight. His fearless stand against the Takeda's ferocious charges earned him not only survival, but also admiration even from those who opposed him. This was yet another moment in his life where courage triumphed over certain death, further cementing his growing legend. In the year 1573, 1 year after the Battle of Ichinosaka, the formidable warlord Takeda Shingen launched a major campaign, leading an army of 30,000 men southward from his capital at Kofu into the Totomi province. At the same time, his trusted general Yamagata Masakage led a secondary force of 5,000 into the eastern Mikawa province. Their advance was swift and decisive, capturing both Yoshida Castle and Futamata Castle with little resistance. Opposing Shingen was Tokugawa Ieyasu, who held Hamamatsu Castle with a force of 8,000 men, reinforced by an additional 3,000 troops sent by his ally Oda Nobunaga. Yet, despite the imbalance in numbers, Shingen's aim was not to confront Ieyasu directly or seize Hamamatsu. His true intention was to preserve his strength, bypass conflict where possible, and ultimately strike at Nobunaga himself, paving the way for a march on Kyoto. According to the Koyo Gunkan, the chronicle of Takeda military exploits, Shingen's forces outnumbered Ieyasu's by a margin of 3-1. Late in the afternoon, as snowflakes began to drift from the darkening sky, Tokugawa gunmen joined by peasant stone throwers opened fire upon the Takeda ranks. Firearms, still a relatively new and formidable presence on the battlefield, had proven effective in breaking cavalry charges. Ieyasu hoped that his superior weaponry would blunt Shingen's overwhelming advance, but that hope was swiftly shattered. Naito Masatoyo, commanding the Takeda vanguard, led a thunderous cavalry assault that struck with devastating force. Honda Tadakatsu's contingent on the Tokugawa right flank was the first to be overrun. The battlefield soon descended into chaos, death, destruction, and bloodshed that engulfed the Tokugawa lines. Facing annihilation, Ieyasu prepared to re-enter the fray himself, but was dissuaded by his retainers, who urged him to retreat and preserve his life for the struggles to come. Despite the devastation, Honda Tadakatsu once again emerged from the slaughter miraculously unharmed. In the early stages of the battle, he had managed to repel the initial wave of the enemy assault, but the sheer weight of the Takeda onslaught soon overwhelmed the Tokugawa defense. In the final phase of the battle, Tadakatsu clashed fearlessly with the Takeda general Ayamada Masuyuki, while other Tokugawa generals worked tirelessly to shield Ieyasu's withdrawal. It was thanks to Tadakatsu's remarkable leadership during the retreat that Tokugawa's surviving forces were able to escape the battlefield. Though the encounter was a crushing defeat, it was not a total rout. Through courage, resilience, and the skill of the warriors like Tadakatsu, the Tokugawa would live to fight another day. Later, in the year 1573, Honda Tadakatsu was entrusted with the task of capturing Nagashino Castle. Leading his men, Tadakatsu successfully defeated the Takdeda garrison defending the stronghold and completed the mission with distinction. Beyond Nagashino, he went on to reclaim several other key fortresses across the Totomi province, striking a significant blow to Takeda control in the region. The recapture of Nagashino was particularly vital, as it provided Tokugawa Ieyasu with a crucial transportation hub and a strong foothold for future operations. Fortune would soon favour the Oda Tokugawa alliance. Takeda Shingen, the fearsome Tiger of Kai, died shortly after the battle. Accounts of his death vary. Some say he succumbed to an old war wound, others to an assassin's bullet, and still others to illness, perhaps pneumonia. Whatever the cause, his passing marked a turning point in the war. His son and heir, Takeda Katsuyori, though a capable strategist in his own right, lacked both his father's brilliance and formidable reputation that had once inspired awe on the battlefield. Nevertheless, Katsuyori continued the fight, capturing several castles and withstanding the Oda Tokugawa advances for years. In the year 1575, hostilities flared once more as Katsuyori led an incursion into the Enshu province. Tadakatsu, serving under Tokugawa Ieyasu, participated in the campaign and helped capture Komyo Castle in June. Later that same month, he played a prominent role in the famed Battle of Nagashino. The Takeda cavalry launched wave after wave of ferocious charges. However, each assault was repelled by a combination of wooden barricades and the deadly precision of matchlock gunmen. Tadakatsu himself commanded a unit of musketeers, who inflicted devastating losses on the enemy. According to some accounts, Tadakatsu even set aside his firearm and took up his legendary spear, charging into the front lines to personally halt the advance of the enemy soldiers. The Battle of Nagashino was a pivotal victory for the Oda Tokugawa forces, with the Takeda clan losing 10,000 men, with most of their senior generals dying. Following the victory, Tadakatsu swiftly moved to capture Suwahara Castle, further cementing the alliance's momentum. In the year 1581, Tadakatsu took part in the Tokugawa assault on Tanaka Castle, then held by Takeda general Ichijo Nobutatsu. It is said that Tadakatsu scaled the castle walls and fought fiercely against the castle's defenders. Later that same year, during the siege of Takatenjin, Tadakatsu once again led the charge, helping to storm the fortress and slay the Takeda general Okabe Motonobu. The downfall of the Takeda clan came swiftly. In the year 1582, Takeda Katsuyori met his end at the Battle of Tenmokuzan, also known as the last stand of the Takeda. Though Honda Tadakatsu did not fight in that final battle, the collapse of the Takeda marked the end of an era, one in which Tadakatsu played a pivotal role. The powerful alliance between Tokugawa Ieyasu and Oda Nobunaga came to a sudden and tragic end with Nobunaga's death in the year 1582. He was betrayed and ambushed by one of his most trusted generals, Akechi Mitsuhide, in what would become known to history as the Honnoji incident, a turning point that shook the foundations of Japan. With the death of Japan's most dominant warlord, Tokugawa Ieyasu found himself exposed and without Nobunaga's protection. Stranded in Sakai, deep in hostile territory, Ieyasu and his closest retainers, including the ever-loyal Honda Tadakatsu, began an arduous and perilous journey back to the Mikawa province. Their path, however, was fraught with danger, not only from rival factions, but from predatory groups known as Ochimusha Gari, bands of armed outlaws who hunted and ambushed retreating or masterless samurai for plunder and vengeance. Throughout this treacherous journey, Tadakatsu, along with other senior Tokugawa retainers, fought valiantly to defend their lord. Time and time again they repelled ambushes, cut down would-be assassins, and when necessary, even offered bribes in gold and silver to buy safe passage. Tadakatsu, as always, distinguished himself through courage and ferocity, personally slaying many of the bandits who dared threaten the safety of their party. His sword never rested, and his vigilance never faltered, until they finally reached the safety of Mikawa. The Ietada Nikki, the personal diary of Matsudaira Ietada, who was Ieyasu's brother, records the grim toll of their escape. Of the many who began the perilous journey, only 34 survived to reach Ietada's residence. Over 200 had perished along the way. Yet once more, against staggering odds, Honda Tadakatsu survived unscathed, a constant figure of strength amidst fear and chaos. Following the death of Oda Nobunaga, a fierce struggle for power erupted among his sons and former generals, each vying to inherit the mantle of Japan's most powerful warlord. Out of the turmoil, one figure rose to prominence: Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Once a humble foot soldier of peasant birth, Hideyoshi's remarkable ascent through talent, strategy, and charm earned him the loyalty of many of Nobunaga's former retainers and solidified his position as the de facto ruler of Japan. Tokugawa Ieyasu, however, viewed Hideyoshi's rapid rise with suspicion, aligning himself with Oda Nobukatsu, Nobunaga's son. Ieyasu may have seen Hideyoshi's actions as an overreach, an attempt to usurp the power and legacy of their fallen lord. This tension culminated into open conflict, remembered in history as the Komaki Campaign. During this campaign, Tadakatsu played both the diplomat and the warrior. He initiated negotiations with the Akai clan of Tamba province, led by Yishida Tokinao, the younger brother of the late Akai Naomasa. Tokinao, seeking to restore the prestige of his clan, pledged his support to the Tokugawa cause and raised an army in Tamba on Ieyasu's behalf. While Ieyasu departed to engage the Toyotomi forces at Nagakute, Tadakatsu remained stationed at Komaki. There, he observed a large Toyotomi host advancing, led by Hideyoshi himself. With only a handful of men, Tadakatsu boldly rode out to confront the army. His daring challenge, standing defiant before an entire army, left a lasting impression. According to some accounts, Hideyoshi, recognizing Tadakatsu's valor, ordered his troops not to attack the small Tokugawa detachment, a gesture of respect for a fellow warrior of great renown. Following the engagements at Komaki and Nagakute, the fighting would reach a stalemate. Although Ieyasu had secured tactical advantages in both battles, neither side gained decisive control. Ultimately, in the early part of the year 1585, Tokugawa Ieyasu and Toyotomi Hideyoshi agreed to terms and made peace, setting aside their rivalry in the name of political stability. Honda Tadakatsu was named one of the 4 heavenly kings of Tokugawa, a mark of the highest distinction bestowed upon the foremost loyal, capable, and trusted generals who served Tokugawa Ieyasu during his rise to power. Tadakatsu in particular stood out among them for his unmatched bravery, battlefield prowess, and unwavering devotion. From his youth, he fought in nearly every major campaign alongside Ieyasu, and not once was he seriously wounded. His feats became the stuff of legend, charging alone into enemy ranks, standing his ground against overwhelming odds, and emerging each time without a scratch. His iconic helmet adorned with great antlers, and his famed spear, the dragonfly cutter, further set him apart as a warrior of near mythic status. The title of Heavenly King was both symbolic and practical. It drew from Buddhist cosmology, where the four heavenly kings are divine guardians who protect the realm from chaos. In Tokugawa Ieyasu's court, the title signified that these four men were the spiritual and strategic protectors of his domain. They served not only with strength in arms, but with wisdom, discipline, and a deep sense of duty. Tadakatsu earned his place among them through years of unshakable service, peerless skill in war, and a reputation that even his enemies respected. It was said that he was the warrior who surpassed death. The powerful warlord Oda Nobunaga even praised Tadakatsu, calling him a samurai among samurai. The final years of Toyotomi Hideyoshi's reign were marked by unrest and uncertainty. Upon Hideyoshi's death, his only heir Toyotomi Hideyori was merely 5 years old, leaving a dangerous power vacuum at the heart of Japan's fragile political structure. Tensions soared in the capital, where whispers of assassination plots against Tokugawa Ieyasu filled the air. In response, Ieyasu began mobilizing his forces, while his principal opposition, Ishida Mitsunari, conspired with figures such as Otani Yoshisugu, Mashita Nagomori, and Onkokuji Ekei to form an anti-Tokugawa coalition. They appointed Mori Teramoto as the nominal leader of their Western army, while the Tokugawa forces became remembered to history as the Eastern Army. In the year 1600, as war loomed, Honda Tadakatsu played a crucial role in the Tokugawa campaign against Ishida's faction. On September the 29th, Tadakatsu led an army toward Gifu Castle with soldiers numbering 35,000 strong. In the ensuing Battle of Gifu Castle, Ishida's ally Oda Hidenobu found himself isolated. Facing inevitable defeat, Hidenobu prepared to commit seppuku, but was persuaded to surrender. Thus, Gifu Castle fell to the Eastern Army. The following month, Tadakatsu participated in the Battle of Kuisegawa. During the clash, two Tokugawa generals were caught in a flanking ambush while pursuing Western Army officers Shima Sakon and Akashi Teruzumi. Tadakatsu arrived just in time to break the enemy advance, allowing his comrades to escape and halting the momentum of the Western forces. Later that year came the decisive Battle of Sekigahara, the largest and most consequential battle in Japan's feudal history. As a commander in the Eastern Army, Tadakatsu once again demonstrated his ferocity. At one point in the battle, he charged deep into enemy lines, reaching the camps of powerful Western commanders. In the midst of the melee, his famed horse was either shot or struck by an arrow, leaving Tadakatsu stranded and surrounded by enemy soldiers. In a moment of great peril, his loyal retainer Kaji Katsutada rode out to his aid, offering his own horse and rescuing Tadakatsu from the encirclement. According to some sources, after key Western generals such as Otani Yoshisugu and Shima Sakon fell in battle, Tadakatsu's unit surged forward through the crumbling enemy lines. The Western army overwhelmed, broke formation, and fled. With this overwhelming victory at Sekigahara, Tokugawa Ieyasu emerged as the unchallenged master of Japan. In time, he would be appointed shogun, restoring the authority of the shogunate and bringing an end to the Sengoku period, closing the chapter on centuries of civil war and ushering in the long peace of the Tokugawa era. In the year 1609, Honda Tadakatsu chose to retire from a life spent in unwavering service and glory. The mantle of leadership of the Honda clan would pass to his son, Honda Tadamasa. Though Tadakatsu stepped away from the battlefield, a final legend would come to surround his departure from the world, a fitting end for a man whose very life had become the stuff of myth. Known through the land as the warrior who surpassed death, Tadakatsu had fought in countless battles without ever suffering a serious wound. Yet, according to legend, in the year 1610, while enjoying one of his favourite pastimes, wood carving, he accidentally cut his own hand. It was the first time in his life that he bled from a blade. Upon seeing his own blood, something in him stirred. Some say that he took it as a sign that his invincible spirit had fulfilled its purpose. He quietly resolved that his time had come, and passed away months later at the age of 63, not by sword or sickness, but by the will of his own heart. His legacy endured, not only in story but in lineage. His grandson, Honda Tadatoki, would marry Senhime, the beloved granddaughter of Tokugawa Ieyasu, symbolically intertwining the blood of two of Japan's most powerful and storied families. Tadakatsu's famed spear, the dragonfly cutter, became enshrined as one of the three great spears of Japan. Alongside this weapon, he also wielded a katana crafted by the legendary swordsmith Masamune. The blade, named Nakasukasa, is now revered as a national treasure of Japan. Honda Tadakatsu today is remembered as one of Japan's greatest samurai, a warrior of peerless honor, strength, and immortal renown. I would like to give a huge thank you to all of my members. Your contribution is valuable to the continuation of the channel, and I appreciate you all immensely. A special thank you to John Seitz. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all next week for another History Profile.